goody, guys? Welcome back to Wind Down with Books with your girl Kay. So before we get into the video, I just want to, of course, always have to thank you guys for the support, the suggestions. I know you guys want 1 to 2 videos a week. Unfortunately, right now, that is my plan, but life has been kicking my ass. Like last video I saw, I had a sling on, so I'm still recovering from that. And then it's just a lot going on, so I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do a video every week. I'm going to try. I'm also going back home, like to Trinidad, so it's gonna be limited when I do go for videos. So just bear with me. I'm trying to get videos out, but I do have a lot going on, and I'm just trying. But anyways, let's jump into the video. You know I have my wine right here. I'm drinking a semi-sweet wine. I don't remember the name of this one though. But anyways, as you can see by the title, the topic of the video is mother-daughter relationships. So if you've been with me watching my page, you know a lot of the books that I read, the mother-daughter relationship is toxic, it's trash, there's a struggle, and that's one of the themes that we're going to touch upon, right? So some of the books I'm going to reference, we have Child of God, Little Peach, Imani O Mine, Ties of a Tether, of course, 7 Days in June, The Stars and the Blackness Between Them, White Lines, and of course, Queenie, right? So before I even get into the video, I have a question for you guys. I want you guys to answer it in the comments below. I want to see what you guys think. All right, so why do you guys think there is a struggle between mothers and daughters? Why is it so hard for mothers and daughters to form a bond? So I always think that someone is so blessed to have their mother as a best friend. Like, to have your mother as a best friend, like, that is a true blessing. It's fun, it's meaningful. Like, that is your ride or die, right? Honestly, I haven't met a lot of people who consider their mother to be their best friend, who have a good, positive relationship with their mother who's close. Like, it's rare that I've come across somebody be like, oh, my mom is my best friend, you know? So I've never experienced that myself. I've never met someone who says that my mom is their best friend. Actually, I'm lying. My one friend, she says her mom is her best friend. So that's a lot. So I've met one person. Other than that, outside of that 1%, the other 99%, it's just rare that I've met someone that says like my mother is my best friend, right? So why do you guys think that is? So in my opinion, I think it's a mother-daughter relationship. Like I said, it's a blessing. It will be dope to experience that bond. Unfortunately, I've never experienced that myself. But I think like mothers, they struggle, you know. A lot of it comes down to what a mother experienced in childhood and how they grew up, and is of course it's you know, shared experiences, learned behavior, and just sometimes, you know, they just lack the accountability, to be honest with you. That's just how I feel. And what I mean by that is that I'm trying to be mindful of my words. So what I mean by that, a lot of mothers, you know, they have young daughters and they haven't healed from what they have gone through, right? So they put their daughters through the same thing that they have went through, and then when the daughter gets older, it's like the mother refuses to take accountability in the role that she played on her daughter's life. That's what I mean by accountability. When a mother cannot confront her past trauma, 9 out of 10 times, in my opinion, the relationship with their daughter will not will not form. I also think sometimes mothers are jealous of their child. Like, they vicariously live through their child, or feel like, you know, they went through this, and, you know, for example, let's say the daughter's living a happy life. They become jealous because that's the life that they wanted to live, right? So it's a number of factors as to why mother and daughters have strained relationships, right? So let's see what book we're gonna start with first. So we'll start with White Lines. So with White Lines, this mother really pissed me off. So long story short, you know, the mother had two daughters, right? And the mother was being physically, emotionally, and mentally abused by the daughter's father and then the boyfriend, right? And then, you know, the mother would take out her anger displacement onto the children. You know, the mother didn't believe that her boyfriend was physically assaulting one of the daughters. The mother didn't defend the daughters. You know, the mother had no communication with her children, and that kind of pissed me off, because as a mother, you hold your child, you carry your child for 9 months, maybe more, maybe less, right? And in that time, you know, you would think that the mother will become connected with her child, right? So in my opinion, like, on my thought, I can't just seem to fathom, like, how a mother could just allow someone to hurt their child. Like, I don't understand. Like, I really don't understand. Like, it happened in Imani Oman too. These two mothers, they were some I don't even have a word for them right now. But there was no protection. Like, their daughters was physically assaulted, and it was like, oh, you're a liar. Like, your daughters are coming to tell you that they've been sexually abused, and all you can say is that they're lying, they're fast, like they wanted it. And when I read these type of situations, I try to think from it as a social worker standpoint. I don't always, like, a lot of people like to blame mental illness. I don't always blame mental illness. I do blame the fact that it's learned behavior. It's the society as a whole, the neighborhood, the community that you grow up, the family that you grew up in, how you was raised. I think all those play a factor into how you raise your child sometimes, not all the time, because you can raise your child right and they can still go down the wrong path, right? So I think, but the trauma, you know, and both of these mothers, they did go through some things, right? So you have a little sympathy there. But then you would think, right, that the trauma that they experienced as a child, you have daughters, you wouldn't want them to go through the same thing that you went through, right? Because you know how you felt in that moment. So when the daughters is coming to them, saying to the mothers, saying that they were physically abused, I'm just confused as to, you know, to why they can't see that the daughters is telling the truth. Like, I just can't understand that. And I think when it comes to mother-daughter relationships, trust, right? Trust. The first stages of life from a child from 0 to 1 is the stage trust versus mistrust. Like Erikson, right? If y'all don't know that, that's psychology, right? So trust versus mistrust. That, I think that goes along. So if you can't trust your mother, who can you trust? That's your provider, your protector. You know, unfortunately, a lot of mothers are single mothers, so we're not even touching upon anything having to do with fathers or whatever. But a lot of times, there are a lot of single mothers out there, so you would think, like, it's gonna be you and your child, right? And I still try to wrap my mind around when it comes to that, right? There should be a huge level of trust in the relationship with your daughter, between a daughter and a mother, and a lot of the relationships like that. So if a child is not feeling that trust, or feel like they could trust their mother, you know, who are they going to turn to, right? If they're not being protected by their mother, who are they going to turn to, right? They're going to look for love somewhere else because they're not getting the love that they need and want in the household. And again, mothers, their trauma, whether it's childhood, young adulthood, if they didn't receive the love, the care, protection that they desired to continue to develop, how can they give it to a child? That's another thing too. You cannot give something that you never experienced. If you don't know how to love, how can you love someone? Think about that. I think that a lot of mothers struggle to communicate with their daughters because they simply don't know how, right? So I'll give you an example. Like in my household, I grew up with my mother, right? I have parents, but I'm just saying my mother raised me too. And my mother, growing up, my mother was very, very strict. Like, think of an old, strict West Indian, Trinidadian lady. That is my mother, right? So, growing up, you know, I've never seen, like, as growing up with my mom, I never seen my mom cry. My mom never talked about her feelings. My mom never, like, we never really bonded. You know, we didn't, as far as like share interests, like it was just never there. And like, and I'm always very transparent. You know, when I'm on my channel and I'm talking to you guys, I'm very transparent about my life. And I feel like when it comes to that, as a child growing up, like like I said, the desire to have a relationship with your mom, you want that, you need that, right? So as a child, I didn't understand that because when you West Indian, like in the Caribbean period, you know, you're not used to having that relationship with a mom. Like a lot of the people that I grew up that's my nationality, my race, you know, they unfortunately never experienced that relationship with their mom because their mom never had that relationship with their mom, so had never had the relationship with their mom. So it's like it's a learned thing. Like they provide for you, they put a roof over your head, clothes on your back, food in your mouth. But as far as like that nurturing is just because they never experienced it, it never correlated over to the relationship with their child, right? So for me, I'm just like, I didn't understand that. Hey, when you grow up and you don't have that relationship and then you do see somebody with that, it's just like you get jealous, right? You get jealous. So like when I would hear stories like like of close relationship bonds, or you'll watch it on the TV or something, it's just like you wish like why couldn't experience that, right? So you don't understand that as a child or a teenager as you growing up. So for me, there was a lot of resentment there, right? And I will always say therapy is 100% necessary to unravel your trauma. Like I hands down recommend therapy, right? So because that's the only way that you'll be able to break those generational curses or cycles, right? So boom. So what was I forgot what I stopped at. Right. So when I became an adult and I started, you know, getting into my social work classes and really going, well, not really between my psychology and social work classes, you understand like development, relationships and all that. So you start looking at what was going on. So for me, I'm big on breaking generational cycles. Like I refuse to continue the same pattern. It's not healthy. So when I look back, if I'm speaking from personal experience, I look at my relationship with my mom. I'm just like, you know, I asked her like, you know, how was your upbringing, right? Because I needed to know for me because we bump heads like crazy. It was like at one point like, I couldn't have a conversation because it was just very difficult. So in order for me to understand why I was the way I was and why I reacted the way I was, I had to understand who my mom was. You know, when you don't have a relationship with an individual, you don't know them. So every little thing they do bothers you. So for me, the only way to really move forward is to understand the past. So I asked my mom, like, you know, how did she grow up? As to like, what was the relationship like with my grandmother? And it was like similar to what our relationship. And I'm like, damn, like it's really like a generational thing. Like, and it was just like I started to understand the way my mom is and the way she move and why she think the way she think. And it's just like, unfortunately, she never had the tools that I have now to really break it down and understand herself and understand the relationship that she had, right? So, and that's another thing, relationships with the mother daughters. Like, if you don't have the tools, the resources that you need, a basic understanding of oneself, then you can't do better. Unfortunately, I know people be like, that's an excuse. That's not an excuse. That is facts. If you don't have the tools to know how to communicate effectively in a positive manner, you're not gonna get anywhere. Some people communicate by yelling because they feel unheard, or they feel like someone's gonna judge them, or being just the notion of being vulnerable is very difficult. So if you don't have those tools to navigate through those feelings when they come up and when they arise, you will never be able to make a change. It's literally impossible. And effortlessly, like relationship with the mother-daughter relationships, this could correlate to like father, the relationship with the father and all that too. You have to love yourself, right? You have to accept who you are. You have to want to learn yourself. Learning yourself is an everyday process. Like, when you love yourself, that's one thing no one can take away from you. And I'm a firm believer in that. If you love yourself, right, regardless of how your relationship is with your mother or any individual, no matter what they do, no one can take that away from you, because you know who you are. Nobody can tell you who you are. And it takes a lot of work. Like, it's an everyday process, and it's not easy, because you have to be vulnerable with yourself. If you're not vulnerable with anybody, be vulnerable with yourself. And sometimes you may not like what you see in yourself. And those flaws, those negative aspects and parts of you, you have to accept it, right? And a lot of times these mothers, they don't accept themselves. So it's hard. Like, when they sometimes, maybe if they look at they daughter, they may see failure, right? Or what could have been, resentment, regret, you know. And it's hard, especially for the mothers who conceive daughters not out of consent, right? That's another difficult piece within itself. Like, so it's hard. It's just so hard. And it's like with these books, all of these books, right? Every mother, they wanted to communicate with their child, right? They did. And because they didn't know how, they did everything out of anger, right? Or whatever situation was, they didn't understand. And when you don't understand something, you tend to judge it, right? And you judging it off of what other people say, right? Ignorance, right? And for me, like, reading these relationships with the mother, it was very difficult for me, because I hated the mother characters. Like, you try to understand the characters, but just certain stuff that the mothers did to a child, like, no child should have to experience that at the hands of the person who's supposed to love them. And it's like, damn, where's the supportive mothers at, right? It honestly, I think that I can't remember the last book that I read that a mother was supportive. I think that's so bad. I really gotta look through my bookshelf, right? So we're gonna touch upon this one, right? Because the mother did she valid. If you don't remember, so the main character, she's Trinidadian, of course, right? And her mother sent her to America to live with her father because the daughter, her sexuality, she was a lesbian. She was found kissing another girl, and the mother didn't take the time out to talk to the daughter or try to understand where she's coming from, try to, you know, comfort her in the time like that. That's, you're embarrassed. You just got caught kissing a girl. It's against your religion. It's against your societal norm, and especially during those times in Trinidad. The Caribbean is not really lax when it comes to the LGBT community, and if it's not man and woman, then you know how that goes. So yeah, so with the mother, you know, the mother resorted to physical abuse instead of talking to her daughter, and then shipped her off. That really pissed me off. Like, my thing is when parents go to hit their child, right? Especially a mother, and you don't like what your daughter's doing, so you resort to violence. My thing is, like, if you did something wrong, would you want somebody to put their hands on you as an adult? Right? And they tend not to look at it like, yeah, the situation may be difficult to really comprehend in that moment, but for you to resort to physical violence for something that you don't understand or something that's new to you, I don't understand that. Like, I wouldn't say that's a mistake, but when the daughters make a mistake, a lot of the times in the book, the mother resorted to physical violence, and it's just like, would you want someone to hit you because you made a mistake? Like you burned the chicken, you want somebody to hit you for that? So I don't understand. Like, I think navigating a mother-daughter relationship is very difficult. So much aspects that go into it. It's just like you don't know where to begin. But I do, like, again, it starts from childhood trauma too, right? I look at, but oftentimes I will say in some of these books, right, towards the end, the daughter and the mother, especially like in White Lines, like the mother was very, when she became sick, I don't know why death sometimes have a way of trying to let the mother see the light, but in White Lines, you know, she was able, Tracy, her mother was able to, let me say Tracy, Jada and her mother was able to reconcile their relationship. They was able to talk it out in a positive light and understand one another. And it was just like being scared, like being scared. Like I said, all the books, all the mothers wanted to communicate with their daughter, but they didn't know how to, and scared. Sometimes fear keeps you from doing things that you need to do, right? And that's another thing, right? And I will say a lot of them, you know, it took some kind of, whether it was death or some serious situation, for the mothers and the daughters to come together to see, like, you know, despite who you are as an individual, your actions that you've done, I still love you. This is why I am the way I was, or why I reacted the way I did. And it happened in this book. It happened in Queenie. It happened in Ties That Tether. It didn't really happen in Child of God. Like, this book, all the mothers fucked up. The whole family in these books was messed up. So I don't think anything could have been done for the mother's relationship in this book. That was just difficult. It didn't happen in Little Peach. And it definitely did not happen in The Blackness Between Us, right? Sometimes when you are who you are and you refuse to acknowledge, like, your faults, you are stuck in your ways, and it's a shame. And some people, you know, sometimes you can't reconcile a relationship. But I will say, you know, it shouldn't have to take some near ending death experience or bad situation for a mother to want to communicate with their child. And oftentimes they wait for the child to grow up, and now they have a new what's the word I'm looking for, a new outlook on life, and now they want to, you know, be in the daughter's life. But sometimes it's a little too late. You know, it doesn't take anything for you to say sorry to your child when you know that you're wrong, right? Like, let's be real. A lot of mothers don't even really apologize formally. Like, they apologize informally. Like, you come get something to eat. You made me do this, but I love you. Like, it's the informal apologies. Like, I know we all experience that. Like, if you ever had your mother, like, come to you and apologize in a positive manner, like, I'm sorry for hurting you, yo, I that is a blessing. That is a blessing. You know, no one wants to admit that they made a mistake, especially to your child. So you gonna try to buy their love or buy their forgiveness, and you know that some of the time that's not what we want. You know what I'm saying? That's not what we want. Sometimes we just want a hug, right? Um, let me ask you another question. Why do you think it's so hard for a mother to apologize to their daughter? Why? Why is that so hard? I don't know. But like I said, all mother daughter relationships, everything is not bad. Like I love to see a daughter and a mother who are so close, especially because I see some of the relationships on TV, and it's such a beautiful feeling. Like at the end of the day, you know that's still your mother, but you know that's your ride or die. When you need her, she will be there. You know, for her to listen to you when you cry, to be vulnerable. Because at the end of the day, like sometimes your mother is your first best friend. Obviously, you grow up and you grow into your own person, but to have your mother to stand on firm when people turn their back on you, that's a beautiful thing to see, right? I support that 100%, right? And you know sometimes when a mother know they're wrong and they want to communicate the daughter, they gotta give the daughter time. Like you done traumatize your child, like she's not gonna come back when you want her to come back, you know? But it shouldn't even have to be that way. So, right, let's switch gears, right? And ties that tether. So Aziri, her father passed away, and she made a deal with her father that she was going to marry a guy from her culture, right? And what I didn't like about her mother is that the mother refused to acknowledge her as her own individual person. Like the mother just kept going back to like, you made this promise to your father. You have to marry a guy from the culture. Like if you step up from the culture, you denying the family, you disobeying the father. And you know, the mother was a true hypocrite, right? So Aziri ended up falling in love with a white guy, and it's difficult for parents to navigate their child relationship when it's with someone that's outside your culture, right? Because it's something new, which I can understand that because they don't themselves don't understand that, but your actions after is different, right? So you forcing your daughter to do things that she don't want to do, and you continuously manipulating the situation. Like, you know, the father had died several years ago, and she refused to allow her Aziri to grow up. Like her Aziri's younger sister was able to do whatever she wanted to do, but Aziri had to act a certain way and be a certain way and move a certain way and be this person, and it's too much pressure on one person. And it's just like the mother was vicariously low-key trying to live through the daughter because she didn't get a chance to do that. Like her father was picked for her, so it's just like because she went through that situation, her daughter had to go through that situation too, and it wasn't fair, right? And I didn't like that, and that comes back to what I said previously. It's just like some mothers try to vicariously live through their daughter, ultimately pushing them away from one another. And it's just like, you know, you can't do that. And it's like, you know, sometimes the mothers depend on the daughters to get them out of their current, let's say, socioeconomic state, right? And it's just like that's so much pressure being put on the daughter, and when they fail, it's like the daughter has no sense of direction because what they're living for was just for their mom. And I think, you know, parents, mothers need to stop doing that. Yes, your child is living a better life than you now. You should be happy for them. You know, unfortunately, it didn't happen for you, but you gotta heal from that. You gotta come to terms with that and support your daughter. You know, a lot of times these mothers want their daughters to be just like them, and it's just like they cause their child to have no sense of identity because everything the child is doing for that mother, and if they don't do it right, you know, they're being punished. Um, and it's just like, you know, how do you stop a mother from vicariously living through their daughter? Like, how do you even do that? I don't know. It don't get to the point. It gets to the point where the daughter resents the mother and she runs away, or she becomes defiant, and you can't blame that child. You cannot blame that child. And then the child has to go through life navigating like why this was the way it was. Like, why was my mother like that? Why was the mother treated like that? And sometimes, you know, the daughter doesn't even have to do nothing at all. And from the time she's born, that mother hates on her, right? And then you also have to look at the mothers who have children that they're simply not ready. They're young. You know, sometimes mother-daughter relationships don't work because the mother was a young parent as well. So you have babies having babies, right? So all that goes into play. It's just those two questions that I need answered, because when I read these books, it's so hard because it's hard and it's complex to navigate and try to understand the relationship, because so much goes into why the relationship went astray. But like I said, it's not always like that. Like, you have those positive relationships and bonds that's formed that's like that. And like I said, that's a blessing to see. Like, I used to wish that I would have that close bond with my mom, but as I'm older now, I really don't. You come to terms with certain things and you just don't care anymore. Like, you just understand, like, it is what it is. But at the same time, you don't, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, you could keep an open mind to it, right? Because you never know if, like, one day, like, your mother's gonna change, right? So I just feel like it's hard. Like, it's hard, and it's especially hard for those who have lost their mom as well. And if anybody on my channel has lost their mom, I am truly sorry, right? So it goes for that as well. I mean, it's just like, you look at the relationship, if you guys did have a bond before and after, and it's just like, you want, if you do have a child and it is a daughter, you want different for your daughter. Like, you want to experience that you want your daughter to experience that level of comfort, protection, love that you hope or had before, right? So it's, when you have a daughter, a daughter is hard. Like, being a female is hard. Having a female daughter is hard. Us as little girls, adults, whatever. Girls have big personalities, and we are very outgoing at times. We like to do what we want to do. You got girls who are very, like, their personality is just so, it's sometimes so big for the world, and it's hard to understand that. You have the sassy females, but I will say, a mother should not dim their daughter's light. You could speak to your daughter and trying to minimize certain things that they do, but don't dim the light that she needs to shine bright, right? Let me see. Let me ask this question, right? Would you say it's easy to forgive your mother because that is your mother? Or, as a matter of fact, let me change the question. Would you say it's necessary to forgive your mother because that is your mother? Drop it in the comments. Let me know your answer. Right? Sometimes daughters feel guilty for not having that relationship. They blame themselves, but at the end of the day, it starts with the adult. No child should have to go to the adult to make things right. I'm sorry, unless the child did something wrong. But I'm talking about, like, when it comes to relationship and fixing things, like, that's the job of an adult. Like, that's how I feel. I may say I'm wrong, and that's fine, but that's just how I feel, right? Yeah. I want to know the answer to that question. Do you think it's necessary to forgive your mother because she is your mother? Because you only get one mom. Like, you get a stepmom, but there's only one person that pushed you out, right? My answer to the question is, honestly, no. Fuck all that. That's your mother. You only get one mother. You gotta make things right. Fuck all that. If I had a mother who violated me to the 1,000 power, who allowed, like, for example, let's say allowed their boyfriend to touch me, allow their boyfriend to physically assault me, who didn't provide for me, who didn't care for me, who beat me down to nothing, I'm sorry. I don't need to forgive you for your own sense of closure so you could be right with the Lord. No, I'm sorry. I would only forgive if that was like, if I ever experienced that, I would only forgive my mother off the strength because I would need to forgive in order to heal. But I wouldn't go to my mother and be like, I'm sorry. I mean, I forgive you. No, I'm sorry. I forgive you. Like, that would be your own inner battle that I would work through therapy. But I wouldn't give like them the satisfaction to hear me say I give them. That's something that they're gonna have to ask God for. I'm sorry. Like, you don't get to violate me and then come ask you for forgiveness because you found the light. What? I don't even, if you found the light, I'm sorry. But I understand why people, a daughter will forgive their mother because they long for that relationship. They want that. Forgiveness is key, right? Closure is not necessarily needed, but forgiveness is in order for to heal. And I think that's important, at least in my opinion. But I will understand why someone will forgive their mother even after everything that the mother put them through. It's hard, like, again, that's your mother, right? But in all honesty, it just depends on what the mother did and who you are as a person. Like, you got daughters who are so forgiving. Like, the mother has done so much to them and time, and they just keep forgiving until they reach their breaking point. But it's just like, at what point does the daughter say, like, enough is enough, right? How at what point are you gonna continue to allow your mom to do things to you because they feel like because they're their mother they could do or say whatever they want to you, right? They have no hold or no bond over their child regardless if they made them, right? So that it's just, like I said, it's so complex when you think about it, you try to break it down. I don't even think you could partialize a mother-daughter relationship. Maybe you could partialize the problem, right? But not the complexity and the concept of the relationship. I need those questions answered, guys. I don't want the video to be too long, but drop in the comments and let me know what your take is on mother-daughter relationships. Like, why do they struggle? Why are they able to grow? Is forgiveness necessary? Do you just forgive the mother because that is your mother? Like, drop in the comments. Let me know. If you read any of the books that I mentioned here today and you was able to digress and intersect. Yo, my words, yo. Reflect on the mother-daughter relationships in each of these books. Like, drop it in a comment. Let me know what you think, right? And next time, we can probably revisit this topic and come back to it depending on you guys' answer. I may respond to you guys' answers in another video. But I'm just gonna end it right here for now. And let me know what you guys think. I think the next topic that I'm going to do is marriage. Because, a lot of my books are based upon marriage. I guess that's like my little favorite topic. But anyways, I appreciate you guys supporting. I am going to drop another video after this. So I'm going to film another video after this for you guys. And then we'll go from there. Appreciate you. Your girl is out.